ContraPoints continues off with the thing to do with consumerism. Have a listen to this.
I like stuff. I like this, and I like this, and I like this. I like stuff, and I want more stuff.
My child, hearken to my voice. It is I, Socrates.
Oh no. What do you want?
I haven't seen you at the symposium of late.
Well, yeah, because you kind of hate women, and it was getting me down.
My child, without my guidance, you have become a slave to mere appetite. Have you forgotten what I've taught you about the true meaning of happiness, the rational contemplation of truth and justice?
Look, I tried that, and honestly, I don't think it's really my thing.
Much of these luxury goods, people have the choice to buy. Nobody is forced into buying anything. Don't get me wrong, there are people who will recklessly go out and spend their money in order to make themselves happy, but that doesn't mean to say everybody does. And ContraPoints doesn't acknowledge the fact that if somebody goes out and is unhappy and goes out and spends money recklessly to try and make themselves happy, that's more to do with a personal problem rather than projecting the blame off onto other people. And what is, ContraPoints trying to say? That we should just get rid of everything and go back to how life was before the Industrial Revolution? And this is the sort of irrational, nonsensical arguments that you seem to see, and they try to make it out as if this is slavery. It is true to say that it doesn't necessarily make a person happy for buying material goods, and if somebody does recklessly, as I say, spend money to try and make themselves happy, again, that's their own irresponsible action. If you go back before the Industrial Revolution, before any of that even existed, well, what was there in life? Many of these goods enabled people to not just improve their material standards of living over options over what they would have, but of course it enabled people to multitask, to reduce their working hours. For example, you saw things like the washing machine that came around, or, dishwashers, etc. All of these goods, or even the refrigerator, these were things that enabled people to improve their material standards of living, that enabled people to, reduce their working hours, and that was thanks to capitalism. Every household now has a refrigerator. Every household, as far as I'm aware, has an oven or a microwave or whatever it may be. All of these goods enabled people to multitask, to make life easier on people. If you just listen to this, you'll then see the other part of the problem. Like I mentioned before, ContraPoints doesn't understand business choice and really doesn't comprehend to do with the target market. Just listen to this.
I like stuff, and I like shiny things. Now that's something everyone can understand, so let's take that as the first axiom of the economic theory I'll be developing in this video. So, given that I like stuff and I like shiny things, let's return to the question. Is a $2,000 pizza worth it? Well, it is covered in gold, and gold is shiny, so I do like that. But the pizza itself seems kinda gross. It's got squid ink dough smeared with foie gras, Stilton cheese, black truffles, gold flakes, and caviar. These flavors are overwhelming and they don't make any sense together. The only thing they have in common is being really expensive. It's like the culinary equivalent of Donald Trump's apartment. But Andrew and Steven sit there with New York's financial district for a backdrop, and they try to pretend that the pizza doesn't taste like golden shit.
I'm honestly speechless. I feel weird.
Is it the gold?
I just paid $250. I feel kind of like I'm committing a crime.
And that's what $1,250 looks like.
There's this kind of sadness that sets in as they realize that the $2,000 pizza isn't worth it at all.
So when you're speaking about this to do with businesses and, comparing this of a $2 pizza to the $2,000 pizza, the consumer has the choice. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that choice. In fact, there's thousands, hundreds of, I don't know if thousands, but they have hundreds and hundreds of options out there for different kinds of pizza. I can even take my own country, for example. We've got some American companies like Pizza Hut. You've got Papa John's. You've got some other companies that are, Italian restaurants or Italian fast food places that sell pizzas, that deliver. And you've even got pizzas from, various other places like Domino's, etc. You've got all of these different options to choose from. I do understand that, yes, for whatever reason being, a company has decided to sell $2,000 pizzas in New York that has gold sprinkled on them, and although I think, okay, well, that's really silly, I'm not exactly going to spend money on that. That's fair enough. But this is the point that socialists really don't seem to comprehend here, right? Capitalism's not pro-business. It's not as simple as saying, well, a company can just produce something, throw it out there, set whatever price that they like, and people are forced, without choice, as if people are forced to go out there and buy it. Every company's got their own market research department. And every company is going to look at their consumer base, and they've got a target market of who they're trying to, sell to. Now, for whatever reason being, obviously this company in New York felt that, okay, we're going to design a $2,000 pizza, and our target market is not going to be people with less money. Our target market is going to be a specific type of people who are wealthy, who have money to burn, and would go out and spend $2,000 on a pizza that's got gold on it. Who am I to judge the people who spend the money on that pizza? I've got no, reason to judge. That's their own personal decision. Yes, the two boys from the video look as if, oh God, what have I done? I've spent money, $2,000 on a pizza. I'm kind of regretting it. Okay, that's fair enough. That was their own personal decision, right? That's their own personal decision to make. And if they make irresponsible actions with their own money, that's their own fault. But this is the point. The $2,000 pizza was not designed at people who can't afford. It was designed towards a certain target market of people who do have money to spend and would go out and spend the money. Now, some people might do it, and that's their own choice. I personally don't understand anybody who would. I personally don't understand the reason behind it, and who am I to question? The fact of the matter is, what is completely ignored by ContraPoints is the fact that you're not forced to. You've got so many other options out there. There's nothing stopping you going to a place that sells pizzas for $10 or less. There's nothing stopping you doing so. So why question what some company does? Because at the end of the day, if a company sets a pizza at $2,000 and let's say the pizza really isn't selling, eventually it'll lead to the business being forced to reduce the cost. And even then, if it doesn't sell at their reduced cost, maybe they'll have to try and, go down to the market of what people do demand. But this is the issue, because people are going out and spending the money on a $2,000 pizza, tells you that people are willing to pay for it. This is the point that ContraPoints doesn't understand. People are willing to pay for it. So yes, the company does have justification for the $2,000 because people are willing to pay for it. See, at the end of the day, if people were not willing to pay $2,000, they wouldn't waste $2,000 on a pizza. They wouldn't, right? And at the end of the day, consumer is king. The consumer has the choice to just walk away and not buy it. forcing the company with no other option but to reduce their costs. But since the company is making money out of people for $2,000 of pizza, then of course that's up to them what they wish to do, and that's up to them who their target market wishes to be.
See, each episode of Worth It poses to the viewer a fundamental question. Is it worth it? We may never know. Take, for instance, the case of the $2 pizza versus the $2,000 gold pizza. Which is the better deal? I mean, how would we even begin to answer such a perplexing riddle? Well, according to Karl Marx, the value of a commodity must be understood in two ways. On the one hand, there's the use value, the commodity's capacity to satisfy some human need. And on the other hand, there is the exchange value, the quantity determining the ratio by which a commodity is exchangeable with every other commodity, deriving from objectified labor over time and expressed in terms of price. But let's not oversimplify things. Clearly, Andrew, Adam, and Steve are inviting us, the viewers of Worth It, to understand the use value exchange value dichotomy not as a mere hierarchical binary, but as a sort of Deleuzian rhizome, a non-arborescent multiplicity with as many sinuous interconnections as the truffles on the pizza itself. Am I making myself clear?
I have explained before on the Marxist labour theory of value that the problem with Karl Marx's view on value, he thinks is something that you can just fix prices, as if prices are knowable. And the problem with Karl Marx is, his labour theory of value, he viewed value as just something objective. As if to say that you can just somehow know a price and even know the value, and you just produce something and there it's for everyone. The reason why Adam Smith's labour theory of value beat Karl Marx's labour theory of value hands down is because Adam Smith asked questions. Who is it valuable to? So that's the first question. Who is it valuable to? Because not everybody wants the same things. They don't need the same things. Some people have different needs and wants. That's just the reality of the real world. Value is subjective. Just because you have something that you want that, you may value, doesn't mean to say I hold the same value as you. So everybody's needs and wants are all different from one another. Therefore, value is all subjective. It's not objective like in the view of Marx. The second issue is, at what time is it valuable? So the question, therefore, is, what time during the year is this product valuable? For example, summer clothing is going to be very valuable during the summer period. Or, of course, you have some states like Florida who are hot all year round, therefore they might have a very high demand for summer clothing all year round. Whereas they're not really going to have the same demand for, winter clothing, etc. And this is the issue. As time moves on into a winter period, the demand for that of summer clothing drops. So they're not going to have the same value for summer clothing moving into a period of the winter period. So value changes with time. This is another thing that Adam Smith had questioned. He also asked, where in the market is it valuable? So these are questions that Karl Marx really didn't question. He just thinks, along the assumption that you can just produce whatever you like. You can just, the assumption that you can just produce, throw it out there, and everybody all has the same value. As if, you just centrally plan production, put it out there, and everybody all has the same needs and wants. And this is the reason why, in the late 1980s of the Soviet Union, as a result of socialist central planning, it resulted in the production of more than 3 pairs of shoes, and the shoes did not meet the tastes of the consumer. So it resulted in massive big long waiting lines as a result of it. I did of course mention that I would tackle the argument on the economic calculation problem, which of course I will address in a separate video. The Marxist labour theory of value doesn't take into account end value, and that's why The likes of Milton Friedman took the piss out of, the socialist central planning in Marxist labour theory of value. And he said, instead of using spades, why don't you use teaspoons? Because at the end of the day, it wouldn't matter if you got more people doing the job. With teaspoons, you're going to spend forever doing so. And, that's not really what value is about. It's not about how many people do the job. It's about what the end value of what you're doing is to the consumer. That's the real value. A good example of this was back in the period when the coal industry was in decline. Domestic heating, etc., was moving away from coal as we were moving towards North Sea oil and gas. Well, this is the problem, because if demand is moving away from coal, what then is the value of that coal, digging it out the ground, if it doesn't have value to the end consumer? Now, it might be used for certain other things, but this is just a small example. It's like taking the piss and saying, okay, get 2 million people to dig a great big hole in the ground and then get them to fill it up the next day. Well, here's the problem. What value did that have? Did it do anything? Did it create anything? Did people gain anything out of it? They didn't gain anything, because there was no value to it. It was pointless. It's irrelevant. What value is something that you produce that people need or want. And this is the issue with the Marxist labour theory of value. It's deeply flawed. It doesn't ask the questions like Adam Smith's labour theory of value.